Gentlemen, this is not a drill. Space Marine 2 trailer has dropped. This is probably the biggest gaming announcement in the Warhammer 40k universe in probably 10 years. This is the classic definitive game of the franchise, and we are breaking down the trailer. Let's get into it. Well, you know, if there's one thing that we know about Games Workshop, it's that they know how to make a super hype trailer and not always deliver in the gameplay. So I want to caveat everything we say here by acknowledging that the drop off between gameplay and trailer or trailer to gameplay can be pretty steep. That said, literally all they have to do to be successful is make new levels of the exact same Space Marine style gameplay. These hack and slash games are a pleasure, and you know, they're underutilized, right? If there's one thing that reviewers like Seth have taught us, it's that a game that has fun gameplay can be forgiven in a lot of other facets, right? Okay, so right there, we've got our enemy reveal. These are Gene Stealers. Yep, Tyranid Gene Stealers, looking like they are taking over a world, trying to consume the entire world's biomass. Obviously, they have not yet succeeded. And for those of you that don't know, there is the Tyranid Hive Fleet, which is the big cloud of space Zerg-like creatures that are going to eat this whole world. But they have a vanguard, and that vanguard is a sort of genetic infiltration force that sort of acts as a parasite or breeds with the native population, the native flora and fauna, to produce a Tyranid loyal core contingent. Okay, I gotta say, the sound mixing is actually pretty good. I like the crack of the lasers. That's a really nice addition. Often they rely on sort of the cheesiest version of laser weapons, where it literally is like pew, pew, pew. But, you know, why not, right? This is something that's definitely due for an upgrade.
Company command! This is first platoon! We've lost the square!
Okay, do have some questions. The las guns seem to be going in both directions, despite the fact that, again, the enemies are like Tyranid bugs.
We can't hold it!
Yeah, not seeing any las guns in any of this. I get it, right? It's chaos. You know, when you're being overrun, right? Sort of the problem with being overrun tactically is that normally you have your line and you have the enemy's line. And as you're overrun, those lines tend to cross, which means if you're a friendly, you have to shoot behind you to get the enemy, right? So if friendly fire, crossfire, the coordination of any kind becomes extremely challenging when your friendly formations start to break apart. And it sounds like that is basically what is happening here. So what I think is interesting is that they actually did this. This is pretty realistic. These Space Marines are not just entering anywhere on the battlefield. They are entering in a location that is suitable for two reasons. First, it is the town square, which means it functionally is a large open space. That means that the support aircraft can maneuver close enough to the ground that they can deploy the Space Marines, which, solid. In military parlance, we call this a landing zone, or an LZ. And this LZ, based on this panicked guy, the guy's radio communications, is probably one of the last places that is still technically secured, right? That hasn't been completely overrun. And so you have to, when you have an LZ, right, the actual deployment of troops, the deployment of your paratroops in the real world, their ability to land somewhere that's already safe is essential. There's an entire subset of military units that receive a special badge called Pathfinders. Pathfinders are trained to do exactly that: identify a landing zone, secure it, and prepare it for the main body to drop onto it, right? Because the last thing you want to do is drop into a landing zone that has the enemy just waiting there for you to land, right? You are obviously pretty vulnerable when you do so. We know, with everything in the Warhammer 40k franchise, the Ultramarines do everything and are everywhere. Other Space Marine chapters get so little love, it's pretty annoying. Okay, what is interesting is, I think because they are technically giant bugs, they can show a lot more graphic kill scenes. The chainsword was a pretty sick effect. It would be great if you can get a little more robust chainsword kills than you saw in the original Space Marine, right? Which had some really cool like kill sequences, but the problem is that, you know, they weren't really fleshed out in quite the same way, right? You would hit someone with a chainsword, their bodies would remain intact. You couldn't, like, say, hack off a limb or do other things to, like, cripple your opponent, right? They were intact until their life bar dropped to 0, and then they just sort of became a, like, plop on the ground, right? Just some fungus. So hopefully we can see a little bit more robust effects here. It'd be really cool if you could get that, where you can remove a limb, remove a leg, in order to cripple your enemy instead of just killing them. Yeah, respect to the guardsman who has realized he has no meaningful contribution to this fight, which is also probably incorrect, but in context, this makes sense. You've probably never even seen a Space Marine in the flesh ever, and so to have one not only show up, but show up and go on an absolute rampage is probably just a stunning series of events. Okay, I appreciate that this guardsman's armor it looks like armor that's seen about 6 guardsmen pass through it. And I wonder if this is set in maybe the Dark Imperium, the Imperium Nihilus, right, where you have you know, the Imperium is torn in 2, resources are even thinner than usual, and so instead of a you know, new guardsmen with newly manufactured armor, they are down to hand-me-down armor that's been recovered several iterations over from the battlefield. I mean, even this armor looks much worse for wear, even though this was a comparatively light battle. So yeah, I'm really seeing an Imperium that is sort of fraying around the edges. I'm curious if that's going to be a central part of the Space Marine 2 franchise, if they're going to really harp on the fact that the Imperium is in many ways cut off and struggling to resource itself at a level that hasn't been seen before. Is it even a guardsman if they don't start simping for Space Marines? All right. Awesome that they're bringing Titus back. That's clearly who this is, though Titus has served an additional, let's see, I believe each one of these little things in his forehead is 50 years of service. So it's probably another 100 years, a century after the events of Space Marine 1. Though I may have my math wrong. These may be 100-year epaulets, and so it may be 400 years after the events. Tough to say. Certainly, the years have not been super kind to Titus, but it's awesome because those of you that know that at the end of Space Marine, Captain Titus was taken away by the Inquisition. So to see him back, and not only back, but having been back for what looks like more than a couple of battles, is awesome. Awesome that they're bringing this character back. I know there was one fan theory I read that Titus would actually end up falling and becoming a Chaos Space Marine, but that does not appear to be the case. Oh, okay, we got some gameplay. All right, I'm seeing basically the very similar gameplay as we talked about. The flying and slamming effect, classic from Space Marine 1. The over-the-shoulder bolter, yep. Yeah, okay, the limited gameplay footage told me that they seem to have figured out the formula that we talked about, which is harken back to Space Marine 1. Give us that hack and slash gameplay that we're here for, and just make it a little bit more beautiful. Okay, I don't know any of these companies. InFocus, Saber, obviously I know Warhammer, but man, fingers are crossed, guys. All right, thank you so much for joining me on this. I hope you are as amped as I am for probably what really should be the biggest gaming release of Warhammer 40K in a decade, right? This is, if you're a gamer first and a tabletop player second, this has potential, man. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think the gameplay is going to be like. And of course, be sure to hit like on the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so I know that you guys, I don't know, so the algorithm knows to show more Warhammer stuff. And thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.